my favorite type of video to create, and my favorite little camera. But James, what settings do I use to create a cinematic-y, dreamy, silky smooth video, I hear you ask? Well, before we dive into the deeper settings, it all starts with a setting only you can control, and that is the movement. The thing is, it's not just about how you set up the camera, it's about how you move with it, and you don't want any fast, jittery, sudden movements. You want things to be nice and smooth and buttery and slow throughout the video. And one of the biggest questions I get asked with the Pocket 3 is, how do I reduce the bobbing up and down effect that the Pocket 3 sometimes gives out when you're walking with it? Do you do the ninja walk? Well, let me tell you one thing today. No, I don't do the ninja walk. Not that there's anything wrong with the ninja walk technique. I know it works for loads of people out there and it might work for you, but it's not something I do. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not gonna be walking around a city or location for hours at a time doing the bloody ninja walk, because by the end of it you're gonna need to call me an ambulance because my back is gonna be gone. But what I do is I attach the Pocket 3 to a selfie stick, and I find that that gives me a bit more of a better control over the Pocket 3's movements. But not only that, I don't just hold the Pocket 3 out in front of me like this a lot of the time. I actually put the screen facing the sky, rotate the camera out facing forwards, and then if I was doing a walking shot or whatever, I would walk simply with the Pocket 3 like this, essentially lying down. And I found over time that that does really help eliminate or reduce the bopping up and down effect, and actually give me quite a better control over the movements when I'm moving the Pocket 3. So let me show you a couple of examples of what I mean. This is me holding the Pocket 3 normally whilst walking forward, so it's not attached to a selfie stick. You can clearly see the bobbing up and down. And then now I'm walking and holding it with the selfie stick attached, and you can see that the bobbing up and down has been reduced. And then the same here, this is me walking holding it normally, and again the bobbing up and down is visible. And then here it's attached to a selfie stick, and again the bobbing up and down is massively reduced. The other reason you want to attach it to a selfie stick is it's going to give you endless possibilities to be creative with your shots. So instead of just having it out in front of you and just doing walking forward shots, you're able to obviously extend the selfie stick out and bring it down low and then go higher and get some like fake crane shots, or you're able to walk with it in the air and get some fake drone shots. It's all about the different type of creative movements you include in your video that are going to make it more interesting. You can even take it to the next level and attach two selfie sticks together and then get some really high fake drone shots as well if you want, but be careful when you do that, because the more selfie sticks you attach, the more wobbly it gets at the top, and obviously you're trying to eliminate wobbles and bubbles and trying to get a silky smooth looking shot. So just do some tests before you go crazy and connect, you know, 10 selfie sticks together and put it all the way in the air and walk with it. Let me show you some examples of some fake crane and fake drone shots. So this is with the Pocket 3 attached to one selfie stick, and the gimbal mode is in tilt lock mode, which I recommend putting it on if you're doing a shot like this. And then now I've got it attached to two selfie sticks, and you can see that me doing the shot by a larger object like this hut really shows how high we're going in the shot. So try and do a shot like this around a tree or a hut like this, so you can kind of get a feel for how high you're going in the air. And again, the gimbal mode was on tilt lock. And then another one by a car, but also with this I'm next to a tree, so you can really get a feel for how high in the air we are going. And this again was with the Pocket 3 attached to two selfie sticks. And then here's some fake drone shots. This is with the Pocket 3 attached to two selfie sticks, literally just walking forward. But again, if you're next to things like lampposts or whatever, you can really see how high you are in the air. And again, with this one, this is with two selfie sticks as well. And when you're out on location, take a look at the shot in front of you of what you're planning to shoot and look at the route and just check, are there any uneven surfaces? Are there any steps, hills, or whatever it is? Because you don't want to press record, start walking and then realize there's a step and then start wobbling all over the place and have to redo things. It's just going to slow everything down. Whereas if you know what that route looks like before you actually hit record and start walking, you can make any adjustments you need to make and either bypass that uneven surface or move slightly different when you step onto the step or step off the step. Another thing you want to watch out for is shadows, especially when you've got the Pocket 3 attached to a selfie stick. You'll be surprised how often it just pops up in the corner of the screen and it will just spoil the whole effect of the video you're trying to create. So look where the sun is shining from, or if you're shooting at night, where are the lights shining from, and just test out the route again and see whether the camera actually appears in the shot. So if we take this setting where I am, for example, at the moment, and if I turn the camera around and let's say I was planning on doing a walking shot to, in front of me, you can see my shadow is appearing at the bottom. If I put it up straight now and I start walking like this, you can see that there's a little bit of a shadow in the corner, which is just, like I said, going to spoil the whole vibe of what you're trying to create. Two key settings to change in the Pocket 3 settings menu to help with the overall movement side of things is the gimbal rotational speed and the gimbal mode. And pretty much most of the time I like to keep the rotational speed on slow. You have got the option to move it to default or fast. And again, this is going to be down to you. Are you trying to create a faster looking shot? If so, maybe default and fast will work for you, but for me most of the time it's on slow, and that is just how fast or slow the gimbal head moves when you move the camera. And then you've got your gimbal mode, and again most of the time I keep mine on follow, but you've got the option to go to tilt lock, which will help with certain type of shots you're trying to create if you want to lock the tilt axis, or you can go to FPV if you're trying to create some more faster, crazy shots. With everything I'm going through, apart from a few of the settings which we'll go through in a minute, there's really no rules. There's just no rule book. If you want it on FPV, then have it on FPV. It just depends on the type of vibe or video you're trying to create. If it's a slow, smooth, cinematic-y type feel, then slow will be your best bet for the rotational speed, and probably follow mode in most situations will be what you'll want to have your gimbal mode set to. And the whole movement side of things links together with the music. Music is one of the biggest bits of the video to set a certain tone, a mood, a feel to the video, and you want to get it right. And I personally choose the music before I go out and shoot because I listen to the music over and over again and I get a vision of how things are going to look, and I know what type of shots to get. So there might be a couple of dramatic moments in the music piece that I've chosen, which means I might need some faster shots or some more dramatic shots, like a fake crane shot with the selfie stick or whatever it is. And I'm only going to know that if I've picked the music before I go out, and I even put the music on my phone, and then when I'm on location have my headphones in and play the music sometimes, so I can just get the vision in front of me whilst I'm listening to the music piece. And it really helps with me creating those movements when I'm out, whereas if I didn't know what the music I'm going to use was before I went out, essentially all I'm doing is just shooting bits of clips, and then when I get back trying to match those clips to music that I'm going to find later. So I think it's always best to find the music piece before you go out, so you can sit there and envision how a video is going to look, which will help with the planning of the movements you're going to take in all different types of shots. So you found the music for your video, you've listened to it over and over again, you've got a rough vision of how it's going to look, you've planned certain movements and certain shots, whether that's the Pocket 3 attached to a selfie stick or not. It's now time to set up the correct shooting settings. Okay, so first things first, you want to press your shooting modes button in the bottom left and make sure you're in normal video mode. Obviously if you're shooting in low light you can go to low light mode, but you have got a couple of restrictions which I'll come on to in a minute. So for the most part it will be normal video mode, and then you want to swipe up from the bottom to the top, make sure 4K is set as your resolution, 16:9 as your aspect ratio, and then your frame rate. This is a personal preference. preference, but I actually prefer shooting in 25 most of the time. I used to shoot in 24 back in the day, and I just wasn't a massive fan of how it looked. But yeah, there's no right or wrong to this bit. You can choose 24, 25. I wouldn't go above 25 for normal speed shots. So yeah, if you're not too sure with which one to choose, maybe do some test shots and on both, and then see which one you prefer. But if you are planning on slowing things down later, then 60 frames per second will be the one you want, or even 50 frames per second. But for normal speed stuff, 24 or 25, depending on your personal preference. So swipe down, go back to the main screen, and then swipe from the right. I keep getting my left and right mixed up, but swipe from the right. And if pro mode isn't on, it will just look like that, but you want to be in pro mode because you are a pro. So press on pro, and then we're going to adjust the manual settings. So press exposure, and you want to set your shutter speed, and your shutter speed needs to be set to double your frame rate to get that natural looking motion blur in your shot. So because I've got it as 25 as the frames per second, it will be 1/50. Even if you had 24, it'd be 1/50 because there's no 1/48. That was a bit fiddly, there we go. But when you do that and you're shooting outside, you'll see that everything starts to look very, very bright and very, very white. So you will need to shoot with ND filters. And if you're not too familiar with the whole ND filter side of things, I've got a whole video covering it, which I'll link in the description below, going through ND filters and other filters, and yeah, the ND filters that I recommend for the Pocket 3. But if you're shooting during the day and adjusting the manual settings, you can't shoot without ND filters. There's just not an option. So yeah, check that video out and everything will be explained. And then your ISO, if you're shooting during the day, you can just keep it on the single value of 50. But if it starts to get a little bit dark or into the evening or whatever, my max sweet spot is 50 to 3200. But yeah, like I said, during the day, you can just leave it on a single value, which is the lowest it can go, which is 50. So we'll leave it on 50 to 3200 now, and press confirm. Then your white balance, if you're not sure what to set your white balance at, press auto, and then you'll see the number starts to change. When it starts to essentially slow down and stop, you can then, like that, press manual and then confirm, which will lock it in place. But remember, if you change if your scene and surroundings drastically change, as in if it goes from day to night or night to day, or you go inside and outside, make sure you adjust your white balance throughout, because if you don't, and let's say you're shooting during the day and it gets to the evening and your white balance is still the same as the day, let's just say things will look very, very yellow. So yeah, keep an eye on that. And then under that, you've got glamour effects, which we will definitely be keeping off. And then you've got your color profile. And again, this is going to be a personal preference to each and every one based on how confident you are at color grading. Obviously, if you are confident at color grading, then choose D-Log M. But if you're not, just stick to normal. Don't stress about it. You can still make some color adjustments and add on things like LUTs and stuff in normal. You're not restricted to doing any of that. You've just got more flexibility shooting in D-Log M. But yeah, if you're new to it and you don't have too much experience with color grading, don't stress, just stay in normal. And you do have the option to shoot in HLG as well. So for now, we'll keep it on normal. And then your focus mode, I keep mine on continuous pretty much most of the time and find it does a great job in continuous. But if you are having issues with the focusing, keep finding things during the shot, then you can switch it to single like that. But like I said, I think since I've got the Pocket 3, for every situation, I pretty much keep it on continuous and find it does a great job. And then your image adjustments, I've got mine both sharpness and noise reduction set to -2, which is the lowest it can go, and then hit confirm. And then that is your manual settings set up. So go back to the main screen, and then when you press record, if you've got issues with the exposure slightly, you can swipe from the right and you can see the EV meter comes up. You can dial things down a little bit or dial things up if you need to. But everything you've just set, you need to save as a preset, so you won't need to keep changing all of the settings. If you, let's say, switch from shooting in normal speed shots to slow motion shots, you won't have to keep adjusting the shutter speed and stuff like that. So to save everything we've done as a preset, just swipe from the top and go to the little person in the top left, and then you can just press save to presets of save to C3, and then those are the details. That's everything we've just inputted. Press confirm, and then when you want to access that preset, you don't go into the preset menu, you're gonna need to go into the shooting modes menu, which is where we started. So press the little button in the bottom left, and then if you go right to the beginning, you'll see these are all the presets you've set. So if you've set one with 60 frames per second, for example, for slow motion, and you've adjusted the shutter speed to, you know, 1/120, and then you've got your normal speed of 25 or 24, and it's 1/50. You won't have to keep changing everything. You can just literally go into this and select whichever one it is, C1, C2, C3, C4, and so on. And earlier I said about low light mode, and you'll see what I mean. If we go into low light mode now, and we swipe up from the top, you can see that you're restricted to your frame rate, so you won't be able to do any slow motion shots in low light mode, as in go to 60 or 50 frames per second. And also when you swipe back into the pro settings, you can see that you don't have the same amount of options as we did before, as in the image adjustments and the color profiles, etc. So yeah, for the most part it will be normal video mode, and it still does a great job in low light as well. But just something to remember, when you do select your presets that you might have saved, and let's say your preset was set to a warmer white balance because you saved it during the day and it was, let's say, 5200, and you select that preset at night, don't forget to change your white balance, because you'll just be using your day white balance. So even though you've selected your preset, you might need to keep adjusting the white balance based on the scene around you. And the preset doesn't save any EV adjustments you've done. So when you press record and you do change anything on here, it doesn't save that in the preset, so you'll have to manually adjust anything EV related like this in each different shot. So you've got your music piece decided, you've got your rough vision of how you want the video to look, you've got an idea of certain movements that you want to do in certain clips, whether that's with the Pocket 3 attached to a selfie stick or not. You've set up the camera correctly. It's now time to get out there and shoot. And I always find that when you're out shooting any type of video, it's better to have a few too many clips than leave yourself short, because you might take certain clips and watch them back on the Pocket 3 screen and think they look great, and then get back home and watch them back on your laptop and think, actually, that doesn't look the best and I'm not going to use that. And the problem is if you don't have a lot of shots to work with, then you might be leaving yourself short and not have enough to fill the whole music piece. Or if you change your vision slightly when you're editing and you decide, actually, I'm gonna make cuts a little bit more quicker, if you don't have enough video to cut with and add in with the cuts, then you're just going to be short. So if you see something that looks great, then just take a shot of it. There's no harm in spending 30 seconds or however long it takes taking that shot, whether you use it or not. It's just always better to have more to use and work with than leave yourself short later on. And don't forget, on top of all of the movement side of things that I went through earlier with attaching the Pocket 3 to a selfie stick and doing, you know, fake drone and crane shots and stuff like that, the Pocket 3 has some features built into it which are really great to use, which can help with different types of movement. So you've got the spin shot, which is obviously a cool feature to use. Maybe don't overuse it and use it in the right setting, but you've got motion lapse, a time lapse, you know, if you want to do a time lapse of cars, of the people, of the sunset, of the sunrise, all of that stuff will make the video more interesting and is literally there on the Pocket 3 to set up and use. So you've got your shots, it's now time for the edit. And one thing I didn't used to do back in the day, which I do now, is keep ambient sounds in. So when you see something like a road with cars going past, keep the sound of cars in. Obviously at a lower level, you don't want it overriding and overpowering the music, but think of it like this: whatever you see in front of you in that moment, think about what you would be able to hear in that moment. So if there was a police car going past, well, you should be able to hear a siren, that type of thing, or people around talking in the background can sometimes add a good effect in the background. Don't, like I said, make it too loud, and there will be some times where you might need to add a sound effect on top because the audio coming out of the Pocket 3 might have picked up wind or whatever it is, and you don't want that kept in. But yeah, keep ambient sounds in. Don't just wipe all of the audio from the clips off, because it does add another layer and feel to the overall video. And yeah, you can add in the famous film-like cinematic black bars to the top and bottom of your shot. But remember, when you do this manually, you are cutting off the top and bottom of your shot, so there might be key things that are cut off. So you might need to do some repositioning to make things, yeah, appear correctly in the middle. As of time of recording today, there's not currently an anamorphic lens available for the Pocket 3, but I'm sure very soon there will be, which will mean, yeah, you won't need to manually add the black bars in and everything will remain in shot. And of course, if you've shot in D-Log M, this is the point where you'll do your color grading, or even if you've shot in normal, you can do your color adjustments and add on a LUT or whatever. And, you know, adding in transitions at certain bits of the video can make it more interesting, but be careful not to overload the whole video with transitions left, right and center, because sometimes it can get a little bit too much. And there you have it. Once you add all of those elements together, you've got your dreamy, filmy, cinematic-y video all created with this amazing little camera.